King Charles's silence on the riots has been deafening. Against this dismal and frightening backdrop, we have also seen the best of Britain. It has been a frightening and dismaying week. For many horrified spectators, it looked as if the fabric of society was coming apart at the seams. The Prime Minister called for calm, politicians condemned the violence, there were numerous anti-racism protests. And yet there has been a conspicuous silence from our head of state. King Charles has said nothing as, in the past week, we watched far-right thugs weaponize the terrible knife attack on a group of children in Southport to cause mayhem in cities across the country. Mosques were targeted by racists, worshippers cowering inside as homemade missiles rained down. A library in Liverpool was torched by a gang of men spoiling for a fight on a summer evening. Police officers were attacked as they tried to maintain control. And there have been more than 400 arrests so far. Thugs also surrounded hotels housing asylum seekers and attempted to set them alight. Night after night, the violence was ramped up with communities across the country being told that far-right groups, stirred up by misinformation spread online, much of it by a malevolent so-called activist from a sun lounger in Cyprus, would be descending on their area next. The Prime Minister issued somber warnings to social media companies, fielding attacks from the owner of X, the world's richest man, Elon Musk, who has been happily telling his almost 200 million followers that civil war in the UK is inevitable. Thankfully, it seems that events have calmed down. Peaceful anti-racist protesters came out onto the streets and scared the far right away. But why have we not heard from our king? It is reported that King Charles wants to be kept abreast of the situation, however it seems he is following the rulebook written by his mother. The late Queen Elizabeth II issued no statement during the 2011 unrest, and members of the royal family only visited the affected areas after the violence had been quelled. The royals are careful about what they comment on, but it's time for the king to recognize the world of 2024 is very different from the world of 2011. We live in a time where social media has become most people's main supply of news, where lies spread by bad actors can easily masquerade as the truth. A statement from the king condemning the violence would have been useful defense against the hateful falsehoods spread online by Andrew Tate and others. Many of these rioters profess to be patriots, so are probably monarchists, and they might just have listened to their king. For decades, the king has advocated religious freedoms. This is a man who triggered a storm some 30 years ago, when he suggested he might be a defender of all faiths, rather than just Christianity, in a nod to the UK's religious diversity. With places of worship under attack and many of his subjects feeling afraid and unwelcome, this is the time for a reassuring statement from the king. In the wake of his son and daughter-in-law's allegations of unconscious bias, and as head of the Commonwealth, it could also be an opportunity to show where he and his family stand. Against this dismal and frightening backdrop, we have also seen the best of Britain. Jubilant counter-protesters easily outnumbered far-right rioters. People have turned up in the cold light of day to clean up the debris left by these rampaging racists. £100,000 has been raised to repair that burnt-out library. I have no doubt that the king is appalled at the events of recent days and that he is on the side of those who want to live in a country without baying mobs shouting racist slurs, threatening violence in the streets and pretending racism is patriotism. As experts warn of further rallies being plotted on secretive Telegram groups, it's time for the monarch to speak out. Whether in a televised or written statement, let's hear a hopeful and sensible message, a clear condemnation of the violence, and a much-needed antidote to the online mischief of Musk, Tate and others.